Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Heart to Heart series. In the talk today, we are going to continue the discussion on stress in a woman's heart. So it's part two. All right, so I am Deetra Dennis, the founder of Full Circle Health Coaching LLC, and I am a heart health coach and with a passion to empower Black women to live at their optimal heart health through lifestyle interventions that are evidence based and culturally relevant. Now, the Heart to Heart series is really our girl talk over a glass of red wine. And I'm going to say red wine like this red wine because we drink hibiscus tea is our red wine over here. And why hibiscus? Hibiscus is a plant grown in the tropical region with many benefits, but one in particular is heart health benefits. And what it does, it relaxes the blood vessels, ultimately lowering the blood pressure. So that is our tea over here. So now, if you would please go ahead and subscribe if you have not already. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you will also click on the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a video. And you know, sharing is caring. So go ahead and share with a sister who you feel could benefit from the information that I share over here. And again, you know, for it to be girl talk, it has to be dialogue. So even though you're watching this as a replay, you can still comment it below, and I always respond back to you. So that's how we can still have that girl talk, if you will. All right. So go ahead and pour up your red wine and cheers. I always do it too low. Cheers to you, and let's chat it up. So, again, what we're talking about today, we're continuing the discussion on stress and a woman's heart. So, before we get into today, let's do a recap. All right. You here with me? Okay. So, last week we talked about stress. We defined stress and we talked about the difference between acute versus chronic stress, and knowing that that chronic stress is the one that, you know, kind of results in chronic diseases. Chronic stress, chronic disease, um, such as a risk of heart disease, stroke. We talked about lupus, other diseases when it's chronic. We also talked about the effects of stress on our body, how our body responds to it. I also gave you a little homework to do. It was like a self-care check-in. Number one, you rated what your stress level was from a level 1 to a 10. You also, you know, paid attention to your body, of the responses that came about when you were in a stressful situation, or if there were stressors, such as if your heart rate increased, you know, it may have changed your appetite. You may have been led to, you know, eat something that you normally wouldn't eat, things like that. What was it? And then the third part of that was what did you do to reduce that stress response for yourself? So, you know, I would love to see what happened in the comments. And I do thank you to those that did connect with me on social media, on Facebook, as well as commented on Facebook, how this information that I'm sharing is very valuable and what you needed. So that is my purpose. I'm here to be of service to you and to provide support again on this journey to an optimal heart health. So that was a recap from last week. And if you want to go back to the video, go ahead and do that so you can catch up and then be able to respond to, because again, with the coach hat on, I got some more things for you today. So now on to our topic today, part two. We're going to talk about how to see stress differently, and then we're gonna talk about 2 tips to reduce stress. There are many, but you know, again, I like to keep it brief but impactful over here. So here we go. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes because I want to be sure that I'm giving you all the things again to help you along this journey. So one of the things, as I talked about, you know, in the recap, sometimes when you're in a stressful situation, it causes you to, you know, move toward or react by with poor, unhealthy behavior, right? And so with doing that, that increased your risk for heart disease and stroke. And so what I did, I actually created an Essentials of Heart Health workshop that is coming up very soon, and the time has come really quickly. And I'll be sharing announcements about that very, very shortly. But my reason for even creating that workshop is that sometimes, when you go to the doctor may say, because of your family history, you may be at risk for heart disease, or, you may receive a diagnosis of high blood pressure or high cholesterol, and the doctor just says you need to make lifestyle changes. Well, what does that look like? What does that look like for you? And so that's why I created the Essentials of Heart Health live workshop, because I wanted to be able to support you and offer service to you of what does that look like for you? What does it mean to be at risk for heart disease? All of that. But anyway, that's just a side note. I'll share with you about that a little later. But again, just wanted you to know I'm your girl. I'm here for you to help you on this journey to what? Live at your optimal heart health, or even going back to 2 videos before, living your heart health like it's golden. All right, so on to today. Number 1, we're going to talk about seeing stress differently. And so, sorry, I got a little hair on my lip here. So what you want to do, you want to look at the triggers from a different perspective, another way of looking at things. And I'm the girl with the quotes. So the one that comes to mind to me, and you might remember this. So number 1, focus on things you can change. Focus on things you can change. And how many of you, by raise of hand, remember the serenity prayer? You remember that? And so I'm going to not say it all, but a little bit here. It says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. You heard that? All right. So focus on the things you can change. That is where you have your power, focusing on that. Okay. Number 2, focus on what is going well in your life, accomplishments, or what you have overcome. Not to say that whatever the stressful situation is, you're not paying attention or addressing it. You are, but you have to shift the way you look at things. So 2 quotes that come to mind here for that. And my coach actually speaks of one quite often. So the first one is, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So if you look at it from a negative perspective, it's going to always be negative. But if you change the way you look at it in a positive way, then what you look at is going to change. And one of the quotes that my coach often quotes is this: where your focus goes, energy flows and results show. An example of that. So say, for instance, not for instance, but I'll give myself as an example. When I was working in corporate America, as I shared in a previous video, that, I had a very demanding leadership role. And at the same time, on the life part of things, I was a caregiver for my aunt that was, had some health challenges, and I had to go home every weekend to care for her. So what I had to do, yes, the job was very demanding. Yes, everything that was going on was, quite demanding on the life side of things as well. But what I had to start doing, and this is a tool that my coach talked about, is, being able to respond and not react to a stressful situation. Because when you react, it may not always be the best reaction to whatever is going on, but you respond, you learn, you pause, and you take deep breaths if need be, or you can, there's some other techniques that she shares that people don't know. Was, say for instance, if I was in a meeting and it was a meeting that probably wasn't going the best, that I wanted it to go, but during that time I could apply the techniques that she shared with me. They didn't know what was going on, but I knew what I was doing, because when I have a stress response, for me, my heart rate increases and I may have the little shallow breathing. So you want to make sure that you're taking deep breaths and then doing those techniques in order to respond appropriately and respond from a space of love every time, but following those techniques. That is one. And one of the things for me in thinking about things differently, I had to really step back and think about the leadership, my immediate leadership, my director was a great director. She was very supportive. Number one, she saw me and she heard me and she listened to things that I had to share. Haven't had that experience every time with a leader. I was very appreciative for that. So on the work front, even though it was demanding, to know that you have a leader that has your back, that advocates for you and your team, because I was in a leadership role. So she advocated for me as well as for my team. That spoke volumes to me. So I had to start looking at it different, having a supportive director. And then as far as with the life side of things, she was very supportive and understood my commitment to my family as well. So she was very supportive there. So that's how I had to start looking at things differently. And whatever your situation is, again, stepping back so that you can look forward at what things you can appreciate, because what you appreciate appreciates. So what you have gratitude for, you have more things to be grateful for in the end. Okay. So I know I spent a little time on that with seeing things differently, but it's so important for us to change our perspective. Okay. And then, so that was see stress differently. And then the last thing is tips to reduce stress. Now, again, I only mentioned two. So, list two. The first one is keep a gratitude journal. And you can just simply go to the store or a dollar store and just get a notebook. If nothing else, if you don't have a journal, just get a notebook and write in there things that you're grateful for throughout the day. For me, I create gratitude throughout the day. So in the morning, when I wake up, I write in my gratitude journal, as well as, being grateful for waking up that morning, grateful for the opportunity to have use and activity of my limbs, all of those things that, your grandma probably used to say. Yeah, all of that. I wake up with gratitude throughout the day, finding those things to have to be grateful for and thankful for. And then at night, before going to bed, I do write in my journal of things that happened throughout the day that I was thankful for. So create or keep a gratitude journal. Lastly, make time to laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. Call up your girlfriend and get some kikiing on the line. Do that. Or find a comedy, be it a sitcom or a movie, things that will have that you can have that belly laugh. You know what I'm talking about there. Those are very healthy things for you. It changes the hormone levels, creating a better atmosphere and environment for your body when you can laugh. So those are the two things I wanted to share with you on today as we wrap up our conversation on stress in a woman's heart. Number one, see stress differently. And the thing with that is to focus on things that you can change, number one. And then number two, focus on what is going well. Those are the two things to see stress differently. And then to reduce your stress, again, there are other things that you can add here. I just wanted to highlight two. One, keep a gratitude journal and make time for laughter. So, I always enjoy the time with you today, and thank you for tuning in and coming over to this channel to watch what I have to say for our Girl Talk. So, I always like to remind you that you are the full circle, and within you is the power to create, nurture, and transform. And until next week, remember to tap into your power.